Thanks, Danish. Good morning, everyone. So, how many of you know what happens or how a software is developed? No one. How many are curious to know? Okay. Okay, then we can. I'll share the inside story how things are developed, what the team does behind the scenes to get Solidage to you. So I'm going to talk about people and processes, nothing technical as such. I'm Sandeep Kanitkar. I work as a planning manager and currently leading the product definition team in Pune. So we have a development center in Pune, and so I've been with Siemens for 12 years. And we have a product development team. I think I have 10 to 12 people at the end of this room. We have a desk set up there. So any questions, please approach the team. So what will we look at? How Solidage began, then what or how is the development team made of, who all consists of the development team, what all processes we follow, what kind of innovations and trainings we do to keep ourselves up to date and bring the best product to you. And then also we'll take a look at customer engagement activities that we do throughout the year. So Solidage began in 1993. So the development began in Huntsville, Alabama. And 2 years later, we brought out our first version in 1995. The development center in Pune was set up in 1999. And today we have released 35 versions of Solidage, the latest being 2023, which was released in October 2022. This is a composition of the team. So most of it, 65% of it is development who actually build code. 15% are planners who define what needs to be done in the product. And 15% is testing or certification, which tests the product so that good quality product is released to the market. And then we have the documentation team and a tools and setup team, which actually packages all the products, all the code into the product that you can utilize. What do these teams do? So these are the responsibilities that each team has. So the planning team defines the product direction, they create roadmaps, define the requirements, define the user experience, how the product should feel, look, and how is it usable. The development team actually builds these enhancements that the planning team defines based on the user requirements. We also spend some time in maintenance of the software where you report PRs, things are not working for you. These are fixed and sent out as updates every year. Then we also participate or we also do some architecture work, which actually builds the foundation for what we want to build next. So not just new product, not new product features, but also the basic framework that needs that software needs. So that is something that we do. We also build all the tools that are required for the development team to actually build the software. The certification team generally looks at all the new functionality, tests it. We also do regression testing, rigorous regression testing, so that whatever works should not break. When we build new things, there are chances that something else could break. So that is also tested. And we create automated tests to reduce or increase reduce the amount of work that is done manually and make it more efficient, make the process more efficient. They also carry out beta testing. Some of you may have attended beta testing programs that are there in Pune. We'll be shortly starting or restarting what we could not do during the pandemic, but we hope to restart this year. And then there is a documentation team which creates all the help tutorials that you can use to implement things or use the software. So next I want to talk about the Solidage development process, what processes we follow. So we use a scaled agile framework. It helps us build requirements that are most valuable for our customers. So how do we do this? So there are 7 stages. So first is research, definition, development, certification, documentation, user feedback, and then release to the market. So in the first stage, which is research, it is all about understanding why a certain requirement is needed. So there are many enhancement requests that are there. We also look at the competition, what they are doing, what our customers are requesting based on the competition, and also interact with the customers regularly to understand why a specific requirement is important. The next phase is definition, where after understanding why we want to do something, we now define what should be the solution. So we iterate multiple solutions. We define all the requirements, prioritize them, define the UX and the workflows, and then document all these requirements. So once the documentation is done, it is taken to development, where the coders actually start coding. They build their own design documents based on the requirements that are specified. They do the architecture work, what needs to be, how it needs to be built. So why, what, how. And we use best coding practices to implement or build the code. The next is, once all the product is ready or the enhancements are ready, then it goes into testing, where we create test plans. Again, the testing team has a document which helps them test all the requirements one by one. We do multiple rounds of testing, and then we also do automated and regression tests. Then documentation team documents or creates the help documents, creates tutorials. We also create what's new presentations. You'll see some along in this session. Then there is a very important phase, which is user feedback. What we have built, is it right for you? So we have a beta program. We get all the inputs. We provide you the software to test on your files. We'll try to identify issues and then resolve them on priority. So beta program helps us to improve the software, as well as it helps for you get the right software. So that is a very important phase. And then the release is the last phase, where we have to satisfy all the release criteria. There are how many how many testing hours have been reported, what is the stability of the product. And once all these are satisfied, then we release the product to the market. So this is the overall journey of how we develop the product. What does each department or each team do? So product planning is more about research and definition. So in research, we gather inputs from various sources. Then we create roadmaps, which is much before the actual development begins. So say 6 to 8 months before the actual coding for the new version starts, we actually are into planning phase. And then we finalize the plans to maximize value and the impact of the functionality that we build. The product definition phase is more about understanding, prioritizing the requirements, detailing out the workflows, defining how a particular command should work or what functionality should be available. And then as we build the product, we also refine it, whether we want to change something, which works or what works better. So that is how we refine. And then there is a process that, so this is a standard process, but then if there are more complex requirements where we need to engage with the users more, then we have a people-centered design process. Here we actually frame a challenge, try to understand more about why by interviewing customers, understanding what they need, preparing a mock-up where we can share with the customers, explain them or ask them to use it. Once we understand the problems in the mock-up, then we can address those and make those changes and then take it into development. Otherwise the cycle is too long to wait for the user feedback at the end. So that is the people-centric design methodology that we follow. What does the development team do? So we are following best practices. We have a excellent team, experience as well as young developers who have experience in programming languages as well as CAD modules, because that is the most important thing that is required for building a CAD software. We are always on the latest software versions, so that the vulnerabilities that are there are avoided. Then we create design documents, review these design documents, code reviews, which is an integral part of Solid Edge development. As you develop something or you design something, there are reviews that happen, right? The seniors review whether the design is right or not. So similarly, we do the same thing here. We have architecture reviews, whether everything fits into the architecture. We also create APIs, which enable you to use it in automations. So any new functionality we develop, we always create APIs for that. And then last but not the least, I think customer focus. We don't lose that. We always investigate IRs with understanding the inputs from our customers and closely work with the customers to resolve these points. The development team also consists of tools and setup, where we have a robust suite of automated tests which help us detect any regressions. Also do localization, because we have 14 languages that we support. And then licensing and setups is also a responsibility for the development team. Certification team, so we have quality practices in the certification team, where there is new functionality, regression testing, validation testing we talked about. Not only Solid Edge alone, but also the portfolio products like the design configurator, CAMPro. So everything is tested by the certification team. We have beta programs. So we have a remote beta, which is quarterly, and as well as an in-house beta, which we plan to begin in this year. Documentation is all about help, tutorials. Again, not only Solid Edge, but all the portfolio products also. And we also have API documentation. So any API you need to use for automation, you can refer that documentation. Innovation and training. So how do we keep ourselves creative, or how do we keep ourselves updated with the latest technology? So we spend we value innovations. So we have quarterly innovations, where people just work on innovations for 2 days every quarter. And some of the functionality that has actually been built into the product from innovation days, it was seeded in an innovation day, and it actually is now in Solid Edge. So there are these examples: Visual Explode, Auto Simplify, automatic trimming of flanges. These are just a few to name. And then for learning, we encourage continuous learning. We are always investing in upskilling our team, so that they can build the best products for you. Okay, it's not all work. So we also have fun. So we have annual picnics, family day, and more. So some pictures I just wanted to share. We also are having fun, not just sitting at our desks and working. So that's about the team. The next thing that I want to talk about is customer engagement. So we have been doing multiple activities of customer engagement. We really want to connect with all the users and get inputs directly, no noise involved. Okay. So what do? We do a Solid Edge beta program, which is annual. We have a Solid Edge developers workshop. There is a 3-day beginner workshop, 2-day advanced workshop. That is usually every quarter. There are user meets where where all the customers come together, which is for the user, by the users. We facilitate the user meets. There are customer visits. We have been recently visiting many customers since May 2022. Earlier we used to do it, but during the pandemic it stopped. But now we have resumed this. So we do this, and then we do some interviews, people-centric design interviews. So this is what we do, but we also want your participation. We want more participation from you. Most of the customer visits we have been to, one of the common threads is we don't know how to log IRs, okay? How to report problems. So that is one of the most important things that we have heard. So there is a support center where you can open a case, Solid Edge Support Center, and find solution to your problems. If a solution is not there already, you can add or report the incidences with all the details. We could demo this to you probably at the desk behind after the session. Second thing I would like to ask is participate in user meets. This is for you, by you, and engage more, because the problems you face today may have already been faced by other users. So building a community which just will help improve your knowledge about using Solid Edge. Invite us for customer visits. We are always wanting to visit customers, understand the process, understand how they use Solid Edge, so it helps us to build better products. Enroll for the beta program. So you can test all your workflows on our latest software before it is released, so that all the issues are addressed. Enroll for Solid Edge development workshop. We have a person who actually organizes the workshop right here. It's Kaustubh. I'll give out the details in a while. And yeah, visit our booth or the tables that we have kept at the back. So I was talking about Kaustubh Bhadekar. So Kaustubh is here. So this is a invite that we usually send for the developer workshop every quarter. So you can connect with him if you have any queries. How do you want to be a participant for this developer workshop? You can connect with him. That brings to the end of this presentation. Any questions? I hope people know or are aware a bit more than what they were before this session, how actually Solid Edge is developed. And hopefully the session was useful to you. Thank you.